Connecting to the cloud server. There we go.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mel Cherrygate from Whoever You Art podcast. And today I'm here with another guest, and his name is James. And he's going to tell us a little bit about his recovery story. And he's a coach also. So he's going to talk about a little bit about that, how he became a coach. And that's it. Hello, James. How are you?
Hey, Mel, I'm really good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, it's great. I'm really excited. It's lovely to meet you finally, and to get an opportunity to talk about me for a little while.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, just I'll get started, I suppose. So yeah, I'm coming up to 4 years. I live in the UK. I've got a big birthday in 2 or 3 years coming up, but it's quite the milestone. So this has been something that's been a big part of my life now for obviously coming up to 4 years, and it was a struggle for decades before that to try and get to a point where I hit that moment where I just couldn't do it anymore. And it came actually at a party on New Year's Eve, well, New Year's Day, by the time I finally got round to saying enough, which was probably about 5 o'clock in the morning, and I poisoned myself that night. And it became, I think, up until the few years before that, it very much was like, it felt like a punishment. You know, every time I drank, I'd then get on it, and I would do it as I could hear myself being in my head, talking to myself, saying, right, well, you know, we're here again, we go all in. You know, it was so destructive by that point. So yeah, that was the wake up call was January the 1st in 2000, and what would that be? 2002.
Okay.
And I never looked back, and it's been quite the interesting journey.
So you didn't have to go to rehab. You were.
No, I tried and tried and tried on my own to do it over years, and like Einstein says, you know, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome.
Yeah, that's
And
really true.
I had a friend of mine, so I work in the hospitality industry, and I had a friend of mine who had also traveled a similar path. And at that time, he was about 3 years sober and had started sort of helping people and working on Instagram. And I'd reached out to him a couple of times to try and get some help, and then felt a little bit awkward and didn't see it through. And then on that day, I was like, okay, this has to stop. So I got in touch with my friend, and he had just launched a coaching program. So I'd got involved with him straight away, right at the very inception of that. And then spent some time as a client working with him.
Oh, so nice.
Yeah.
So you were able to don't go to rehab, but you did search for help, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Reach for help.
I think the main, you know, having worked with in the sober space for a number of years now, the one thing that really keeps people trapped is this idea of shame. You know, like, there's something wrong with me. Why can't I be like everyone else and just have a couple of glasses? Or, you know, like I used to say, I used to get this kind of judgment from people around me, being like, why do you have to do so much? Why can't you just be like everyone else and just have a little bit? And I couldn't function like that. You know, as soon as I got on it, as soon as I had the first line or the first drink, I was all in. You know, it didn't end until there was nothing left, you know.
And then you get desperate because you want more.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
It's especially cocaine. It's a no ending, you know, because you don't want to stop, because you want to come back to the first time you did, right?
Yeah,
That felt
exactly.
good.
Yeah, and that's the thing. There's nothing, like, I talk to people and you know, what strikes me is there's nothing positive about that drug. You know, from all the way at the beginning of its creation and the communities that it destroys and the environmental impact that it has, all the way through to the person who you become when you start taking it. You know, like, there's just no positive impact in any of that chain.
Yeah, and I do think that when we are on the substance, you're not yourself.
No, agreed.
It's not. It's another person, you know. And
And
that's why I try to forgive myself,
definitely,
because it was not me,
I
right?
think that's key.
Essentially.
Yeah, I think that's key. Like I talk to people now. So as I said, I went through a sobriety program, and the idea of it was that it's and the way that I work now, having done that and then coached for years, is it's the idea that like we build a life. It's a shift of identity. You've got to move away from this idea of having to give something up to what does my life look like now that I've got my like now I've got it back. Now that I'm back in this, I don't like to use the word control, but like now that I've got feeling again, like I feel things.
Mhm.
And I think what's really interesting is when I speak to people at different stages of their sobriety journey,
Mhm.
and you ask that question, what would you say to the person who used to drink or who used to like, if you could go back in time and speak to that part of you, what would you say? And when people are between sort of a couple of days and 6 months, it's very aggressive. Like, just get yourself together. Why can't you stop doing it? Like, pull yourself together. Like, we're gonna. And then you get to the compassion part a little bit further down
Yeah,
the line, where it's like you got, like it's forgiveness and it's
yeah,
understanding and it's that realization that you were just trying to survive your environment, and that's really
yeah.
key. And then, funnily enough, what I find now is if I had the opportunity to go back and speak to someone, I'd be like, "We did it." Like that celebratory almost
And
of like
that's so
we got,
awesome. Yeah.
and
It,
that, and it's
because
it's it's the don't give up mentality. Sorry, Mel. Yeah, no, like
no,
never
no, no,
stop.
sorry.
No,
Um, because I do think it's like we have two parts, right? One that do the drug and drink, and the other one that knows that they don't want it anymore. So
yeah,
I think when you say we did it, we are connected to the good part of us that did
yeah.
it.
I
The,
think you're
the
absolutely right.
good voice that
Yeah,
it is inside of our head, even when we are in addiction. We know that we don't want that.
yeah,
There is this voice, but you just can't do it, right?
yeah. I think for me, what that is there's an idea of the essential self. So Martha Beck, who I trained with, has this idea of like the essential self, and what I take from that is it's the part of us that was born. Now, I think through sobriety, you get a degree of spirituality, and I don't mean that from a religious sense or like whatever your belief
Yeah,
systems
I know
are.
what you mean.
However, I think that there's a part of us where you start to become self-led. And what you also realize is that there's a separation between who I am and what my thoughts are, right? So
Hmm.
this idea of like the part, like the good part, as you were sort of alluding to, I believe that's the part of us that was born,
Yeah.
right? Before we were then socialized into all the beliefs of who we should be.
Yeah, it's
And
the
what happens,
essence, right?
yeah, exactly. And what happens during your sobriety is that you pull back from what I think other people think I should do into what I feel is right for me.
Yeah,
And the more
exactly.
self you become connected to, the more decisions you make that are based upon what's right for you,
Yeah.
the
Um,
less you people please, the less you do things that other people want you to, the less you'll turn up to a party that you don't really want to go
you
to.
don't really want to go,
You're,
exactly.
like, you're happy to say no.
And I think that it is, I think I'm a spiritual person. I'm not religious, but I kind of had to become or search for something. And of course, I have a daughter. She gives me meaning. But the truth is that we are alone in
Mm,
ourselves. It doesn't matter. Like you can't stop what for your daughter or your son or your
agreed.
husband or your wife. You just can't.
Hmm.
So you need to be compassionate enough with yourself to forgive yourself and realize that at that time was the only, like my psychiatrist say, he says that it was the solution
Mm,
at the time for what you were feeling, because
yeah,
we were just so disconnected for ourselves. Like I couldn't sit with myself sober. I
yeah,
couldn't
completely.
have peace. It was always in my head, something,
Yeah,
anxiety. And then you get in this loop that you can't get out. And so what the problem is that the 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 people that I really want to help is that person that it's really, really bad, that it's not finding a way out. Because when I was there, I remember that I was hopeless. And, but those people usually are not like scrolling Instagram to see sober vibes or, we're not. Like,
Yeah.
and if we're using and you see that, you screw that. I don't want that.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear about it. So it's harder to get to them, right? To actually help. Because I think when someone reaches for help, there is already a part of um, health inside of the person, because like I need help, you already are like making a movement to get better,
Mm.
right?
Yeah,
But some
absolutely.
people are just
Yeah, and I think
like
that's
I
the
was.
truth. Yeah, and you're right. Like there's the only constant in your life is you. You're the only person there there's the moment you're born to the moment you die, from when you wake up to go to bed at night. Like
Yeah,
the only one
yeah.
that's there all the time is you. And that's why it's so important to become more self connected to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like you said, you can use other people as motivators or situations as motivators, but really it's about that
Yes.
moment of like, I just can't do this anymore. And I think once you start to hear or start to listen to the voice inside you, that's like your essence, for want of a better term, like you can't not hear it anymore. Particularly
Yeah.
once you start acting on it, like when you start this journey, I think, yeah, you become more kind of connected to that part of you, and you're right to sort of cover over what you were saying a moment ago. Like it's survival,
It's
and I
survival.
think that the more you give yourself, like the more belief you have in that it's not something that's wrong with me, and I'm not broken, and I'm not a bad person, and I'm not useless, or I'm not unworthy. Like I'm just trying to survive my environment, and so many of us are in that. And if you think of like traumas or things that have happened in people's pasts, what we tend to do is we're like, no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to deal with
Mm-hmm.
that. And it doesn't go away. It just kind of lives just at the edge of our
Mm-hmm.
vision, and
Yeah.
nothing else gets through. And I think that's what happens, is that just so much overwhelm builds up behind that, it becomes too scary to look anywhere else. So we just
Yeah.
find the solution that's right in front of us. Um,
Uh,
yeah,
Yeah. I think that there's for me this I can't do this anymore. It's a big part of it. But I saw a movie that she's an alcoholic, and she relapsed, and then her husband go see her in the hospital, and then he said, "What? Like, why did you do this again?" And she said, "I'm not gonna do it anymore." And he says, "But you always tell me this." And she
mm,
says, "And all the time we're true,
yeah,
because it were
yeah,
true,
yeah,
you
absolutely,
know."
yeah,
And that really got me, because when I said that I wanted to stop, I really wanted, but I couldn't somehow. Maybe I was not there yet. And I consider people that are addicts and are making sobriety are the strongest people,
yeah. To
and
keep getting back up.
yeah, it's really hard,
Yeah,
you know, and it's something you have to do by yourself. Um, but it's just like you have to like be born again. It's something crazy,
yeah,
but it's something when you pass through the shame and you start to be nicer to yourself, it it's so beautiful, right?
mhm,
Like you start to get to know yourself again,
yeah,
right? And I
definitely.
think this is just it's beautiful. Now I
Yeah,
see as beautiful, but I didn't see as beautiful before.
no, I agree, and I think that you need support. Like I think that like it's all about environment and all about our ability to connect and to be accountable, and also to meet someone who has a shared experience. I say you have people in your life who love you and care for you and will show you compassion, but sometimes all you need is someone to say, I know what that feels like, and I'm really
Yeah.
sorry you're there right now. And what a difference that show. Like, and it's not to say that your experience isn't valid or it's not real. It's just to say that it's not something that's wrong with you. Like, I think we get caught in this idea that there must be something inherently broken inside of me, that everyone else seems to be doing okay, and it's just me. And that's the truth is that's far from it. And I think that what you realize when you stop is how many other people around you are in the same situation, but unable to work themselves
Unable
out.
to, yeah, and sometimes unable to tell themselves they have a problem,
Yeah.
because I know I spent years over drinking and using cocaine, but I still could manage life,
Mm.
and until I could not anymore. But when I wasn't that like managing, um, I, I didn't want to stop,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
I
Scary.
was, yeah, and today I remember that I was already hitting bottles
Yeah.
and anxiety, and but I was still thinking I was hiding, I think, because people know, right? And especially cocaine, because I was not like a user, like, okay, I'm gonna do like this whole bunch of cocaine. I could do a little bit with the alcohol, uh, but if they left me, but because I was like with my family, so I had to control myself. So my family actually didn't find out about the cocaine until I went to rehab,
Mm.
and they didn't find out. And actually, I had my mom telling me one day that I used. Oh, you're so good today, and it's crazy,
Yeah.
because you're far from good. And then you get this affirmation in your head. See, I'm great. It's
Yeah.
working. Doesn't matter, you know. And so sometimes it needs to get really bad so you can't take it anymore. And there is some people that are in another stage, that they are just stop drinking. They think they're drinking too much, like on the weekends. So there's all this spectrum, right,
Yeah.
of
Definitely.
alcoholism and drug users. And my father was a user of cocaine, but he could go out one day with his friends, do it, whatever, and then spent like 2 months
Yeah.
not even drinking a beer.
I
He
think
could.
there's, yeah, I think the definition of a problem is the same, right? It's like if it's impacting you in a way that doesn't feel like that's damaging who you are or your perception of self, but the symptoms are different.
Yeah.
So, like my drinking compared to someone who's drinking vodka for breakfast, they'd look at
Mhm.
my drinking and be like, "Well, that's not a problem," but it was enough for me to be like, "This doesn't work for me,"
Yeah.
And I think that that's the other thing is it's like there are people who will judge you or who will say, "Oh, but you weren't that bad." Like, what are you talking about? You didn't drink that much, and
Yeah.
it's like,
I,
well, you
I
didn't.
I got that a lot.
Yeah, you didn't see the 2 days afterwards where I couldn't get out of bed, or like you didn't see the mental health impact that it had on me, and how
Yes.
desperate I was for days afterwards, or how disappointed or sad, or all of that stuff. And it got to a point where it doesn't matter what the volume is. It's just like, how does this impact you? Is it serving you?
Yeah. What is doing for your life?
Yeah.
Because I know,
Is it fun anymore?
is it
It's
fun
like,
anymore?
no.
Because I remember drinking and crying
Yeah.
because
And
I
it's the parts
needed
of you that,
to drink.
yeah, it's the parts of you that are like driving the car, right? For want of a better analogy, there are parts of you that will not want to stop no matter what, because it's safer.
Hmm.
Although it's destructive and although it's like it's ruining your life, for want of a better term, it's safer than the unknown. Like what happens if I stop is so scary that it's
It's
easier
scary.
to stay trapped, right?
Hmm.
And I think that there are desperate parts of you that don't want to change. I just want to stay where I am because it's safer than having to do the
Yeah,
work.
you feel more, is where you feel comfortable.
And that's why every now and again you'll have that voice who'll be like, oh, maybe I should just have a drink. You know, like particularly early on, you're like, you have these internal struggles of like, I really just want to get on it, or I just, because you're having to deal with all the stuff that you haven't wanted to deal with for
Yeah,
years.
for
All of
you.
those emotions, they come through.
They
So
come.
it's, yeah, they
And
do.
it's just the beginning when you stop,
Yeah.
because then it comes everything.
Yeah.
And you have to do, one thing that helped me was like this. Okay, I'm feeling horrible. I'm anxious. If I would drink, it would go away, but I can drink. I don't want to drink. And then I will talk to my mother that never drank in her life, doesn't
Mm.
even know what cocaine is. And she was always uplifting and happy.
Mm.
So I would almost like borrow her happiness to
Yeah.
just keep going, like give me a little bit of this, because then I would think to myself, she is on the same place that I am, doing the same things, and if she can be happy with that, I can also one day, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And that gave me hope.
Definitely. I think there's so much social conditioning around like what happiness looks like. You know, like when we're growing up, our adults around us drink, and you know, you go to a wedding, people are drinking, you go to a funeral, people are drinking, you go to a party or a dinner party or any social engagement, people drink, right? Now, as children, we learn from our adults, you know, they're perfect and that's how we see them. They keep us safe.
Hmm.
So as we grow up, we understand that drinking equates to fun and joy and happiness, right? And pleasure. And then what happens is as adults, when we're trying to survive our environment and we're using alcohol in a different capacity, and it's so destructive, this is what keeps us trapped is like, how do I have fun if I don't drink? Like if I remove
Hmm.
alcohol, like I'm never going to have fun again.
How, right?
Yeah. But you're an artist, right? And
Yeah.
so you might get this point better than anyone. I believe like creativity, that we are open to receive like the masterpiece, right? Or
Hmm.
fun and enjoyment. Like we don't create happiness, we are open to receive it. So when you're painting something beautiful, the inspiration doesn't come from within you, it comes from the environment around you, right? You
Yeah.
become
Yeah.
a conduit, you're a channel for the painting
Yeah. Yeah.
come
You're a
through you,
channel.
flow
Yeah.
through you, right? And it's the same with happiness. So or pleasure or joy. Like we don't create these experiences. We become a sponge to receive them. So once you remove this idea that alcohol is the only place I can have fun anymore, it becomes evident and it permeates every area of your life. So things that might have been mundane, like going for a walk in the woods, suddenly it's the most
Yeah.
joyful thing. The light coming through the trees, amazing. Like how cool is
Hmm.
that? That would never have been fun before. It would have been just
No,
like, right,
never.
can
You
we get to
wouldn't
the,
even notice.
you'd walk through the woods to get to the pub. That would
Yeah.
be it, right? That would be just, can we go to the pub now? I've walked the woods. Can we just get to the pub? So I think we're not built to live in like these extreme highs when we're on drugs and these
No, we're
crash
not.
when we on the
The-
down when we come off them. We're on
Yeah,
a
we get used to the high, right?
yeah.
And
But we're
then,
supposed to live in the middle ground where it's
yeah,
yeah, it's not, you know, you're never going to get those huge like those rushes of dopamine, but you don't, we're not supposed to. We're not built
not
for that.
supposed to. Yeah.
So
And yeah, yeah, you're so
that's
right.
okay.
Uh, it is, we get used to live our very low or very high, right?
Yeah.
And this for me was because I cannot sit with myself like just relaxing or just
Yeah.
whatever. And then it got
Yeah.
to a point that I couldn't watch movies anymore or
Yeah.
TV shows, anything,
Yeah.
because I was always on the edge. And now when I feel anxious, because I am very anxious a
Mm.
person, I think that's what made me drink in the first place. But I do remember that it goes away.
Yeah.
And maybe
It's
tomorrow I'm gonna feel great. And
yeah.
also gonna go away. You
Yeah.
know,
This
not
too
no
shall
feel.
pass.
Yeah, no feeling will last forever. The good and the bad.
Exactly.
You know.
There's a brilliant thing on Instagram. I've seen it a couple of times recently with Tom Hanks, the actor, and he's talking to a group of they're all like A-list actors sitting around the table, and he says, "I wish I'd known this saying, this too shall pass." And
Yeah.
it's like, I'm feeling awful. This too shall pass. I'm feeling anxious. This will pass. I'm feeling amazing. This too shall pass. Right. And all of this idea that there's nothing, that everything's temporary, and that's okay. That's supposed to be,
You're
Um,
supposed to
and,
be.
and I
I know
think that
when
there's,
I'm very excited, I have this feeling, oh my God, this is gonna go away.
yeah,
And I
but it's
know
okay. I
that.
think it's two sides of the same coin. You need the shadow for the light to exist.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
have to have both. And I think that this is the thing for me, and I still struggle with this, right? I meditate daily, and I do breath works daily, and I do all those kind of things. But being able to sit for 5 minutes with no distractions, no phone, no music, no TV, no books, no nothing, 5 minutes on your own is really hard, and I say this to
Really
people,
hard.
straight away, like, there's no hack to this, and it's really hard sometimes. Like, there are times where it feels impossible, but it's not. And I swear to God, it's worth it. Like, 100%, everything gets better in your life when you stop drinking and taking drugs. Like, 100%
Everything.
things. So it does feel, there are definitely times where you're like, oh, is this it? Like, is this all it's ever going to be? But it gets so much better, like, every single time. And it's not the golden bullet to all your problems. Like, you still have
No,
problems. Things still go
everybody has.
wrong. Life still happens, but you have capacity to deal with it.
Yeah,
And I think that's
exactly.
the message that I try and get across. It's like, you're going to have shit days, but it's going to be, that's
It's gonna
okay.
be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was gonna ask you, I always ask this last question. That what would you say, because of course you're a coach, for those people that are really, really, really struggling? And like the first step, I know there's not a path for everybody. I went to rehab, you didn't go to rehab, and here we are. But like, would you say, like, for your client that says that he or she is really bad, and like the first thing to do it?
I'd say first thing is, you're not alone. I think we get stuck in this feeling of, like I said before, like, there is something wrong with me. And Brené Brown, she talks about it in one of her books, about this
I
idea of
love
shame.
her.
She's amazing. She's just one of my
Amazing.
favorite people.
Yeah, me too.
Her definition of shame is, I think, the most beautiful thing I've ever read,
Yeah.
and it's so true. But what I would say is, like, it's not about grand gestures and big leaps forward. This is it's about small steps at a time, laying foundations and never giving up. Right? Like, this journey is inherently bumpy. There is turbulence on this road, and there are times you're going to slip up, and that's okay. It's opportunities to learn what went wrong last time and how do I change it for the next time. So there's never a time where you think, like, this is a wasted experience. So every single time that you might have a slip up or get, like, fall off the wagon, whatever you want to call it, whatever term, it's not day one again. It's just another day on your journey. All right. So this idea of,
Exactly.
like, oh, I'm back at the beginning. It's not. So
Yeah.
every single time you go forward, it's like laying foundations and understanding what went wrong, and just analyze, and know that you don't have to do this alone. I think, again, sorry, I know there was one question, but many
No, it's
answers.
great.
This idea of, like, the perfectionism in us that we're taught from such a young age, of, like, be the best, excel, you've got to be the best, you've got to try harder and do everything on your own. It's not true. We're
No.
built to rely on other people. We're tribal creatures. We're supposed to live in packs where we have the ability
Connection.
to lean on each other,
Yeah.
So the idea that this is something I have to do on my own, it's so much more difficult. So please don't be afraid to say, I need help with this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's the truth.
I love that. Well, James, was lovely to talk to you.
You too.
And we keep in touch, and then I'll let you know when I'm gonna release, but probably like 2 days.
Perfect.
And then I'll tag you and everything. And but you have to send me the record.
I'll do it right now.
Okay, then you have to stop the record also.
Okay, I'll do it right now. There we go.
Okay, bye bye.